The alien observer. Zorax Kalir shifted uncomfortably in his seat as the transport shuttle docked with the Earth ship IS Trailblazer. As a Galactic Council observer tasked with documenting the humans' experimental jump drive tests, he knew the importance of this assignment. The insectoid scientist gathered his equipment with spindly fingers and prepared to board. The airlock hissed open, and Zorax was greeted by Captain Lena Sorensen, a tall human female with alert blue eyes and short blonde hair. "Welcome aboard the Trailblazer, Dr. Kalir," she said, extending a hand in the human gesture of greeting. "I hope you'll find your accommodations satisfactory for the duration of the testing." Zorax gingerly shook the captain's hand with his own chidness appendage. "My thanks, Captain Sorensen. I look forward to observing your ship's new jump drive in action. The Council is quite curious about this technology." Captain Sorensen led Zorax through the corridors of the Trailblazer, introducing him to various members of the multinational crew along the way. The humans were a diverse lot, with a variety of skin tones, facial features, and languages. Yet they all worked together with seamless efficiency as they prepared for the first jump test. On the bridge, the crew took their stations while Zorax settled into an observer's seat beside the science officer. Captain Sorensen addressed her people. "All right, everyone. This is what we've been training for. The new jump drive is prepped and ready. Calculations are locked in. Let's make history." As the humans worked, Zorax marveled at their focus and cooperation. The easy camaraderie among the crew was unlike anything the Council races shared. He wondered if perhaps this very human quality of teamwork had allowed them to make such technological strides in recent years. "Charging jump drive capacitors," announced the engineering officer. "Capacitors at 50%, 75%, 95%. Zorax found himself leaning forward in anticipation. The technology, the cohesion of the crew, the sense that something momentous was about to occur. "Jump drive charged and ready, Captain." The engineer's voice rang out. Captain Sorensen nodded. "Initiate jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Engage." Zorax felt a lurch deep in his thorax as the ship leaped into the swirling vortex of jump space. But something was different this time. The transition was smoother, faster, almost instantaneous. And as the ship emerged from jump space, the crew stared at the view screens in shock. "Captain," stammered the navigator, "we've traveled over 500 light years. That's over 10 times the distance we should have jumped based on the drive specifications." The bridge erupted into excited chatter as the humans struggled to make sense of what had occurred. Zorax sat back heavily in his chair, stunned by the implications. What had these humans built? And what would it mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? Calibrations and calculations. In the wake of the astounding first jump test, the crew of the ISS Trailblazer erupted into a flurry of activity. Engineers and scientists crowded around data displays, arguing animatedly and punching calculations into their interfaces at a blistering pace. Zorax observed the humans with a mixture of fascination and growing unease. The speed at which they worked to analyze the results and make adjustments to the experimental jump drive was astonishing. Council races were methodical, cautious, but these humans embraced the unknown with a reckless eagerness. "The harmonics from the Kappa field generator are still a bit off," said one engineer, a dark-skinned male with close-cropped hair. "But if we adjust the plasma flow from the main reactor, we should be able to smooth them out and increase drive efficiency." "Good catch, Marcos," replied the lead engineer, a lanky woman with a mane of red hair tied back in a messy bun. "And Chelsea, what if we recalibrate the inertial dampeners to account for the higher G-forces during jumps? Could reduce stress on the hull." The engineering team worked in perfect synchronicity, tossing ideas back and forth as they fine-tuned every aspect of the jump drive. Zorax marveled at their grasp of esoteric physics that even the most advanced council races were only beginning to explore. As the crew prepared for a second jump test, Captain Sorensen approached Zorax. "Dr. Kalir, I wanted to get your thoughts on the data from our first test. The Council has centuries of experience with jump technology, and your insights would be invaluable. Zorax hesitated, mandibles twitching. The Council had strict protocols about sharing technology with less advanced races, but the humans had already surpassed anything the Council had built. With a resigned click, he gestured to the data displays. "Your jump drive is like nothing I've seen before," Zorax admitted. "The crystal matrix used to focus the kappa field energies is generations ahead of Council technology. I suspect that's the key to the Trailblazer's remarkable range." Captain Sorensen nodded thoughtfully. "Our scientists have been working on this design for decades, refining it, pushing the boundaries. This test series is the culmination of all those efforts." The ship-wide intercom crackled to life. "All hands, prepare for second jump test. T-minus 60 seconds and counting." The captain gave Zorax a confident smile. "Time to see what this bird can really do. Care to place any bets on how far we'll jump this time?" Zorax shook his head, at a loss for words. He had no frame of reference for the capabilities of this human-built marvel. As the jump clock ticked down, he found himself gripping his armrests with anxious anticipation. Initiating jump in 3, 2, 1. Execute. The stars outside the viewports blurred into streaks of light, then vanished utterly as the ISS Trailblazer leaped into the swirling abyss of jump space. Zorax felt the deck plates shudder beneath him as the ship hurtled through the void at impossible velocities. Seconds later, the ship decelerated back into real space. Shocked silence reigned on the bridge as the crew stared at the navigation displays. They had traveled over 1,500 light-years in the span of a few heartbeats. Triple the distance of the first jump with a fraction of the charge time. As the humans broke into whoops and cheers of triumph, Zorax fought down a rising sense of dread. The Council had no idea what the humans had achieved. This changed everything. And he had a sinking feeling that the crew of the Trailblazer was just getting started. Faster than light, faster than expected. Following the staggering results of the second jump test, the atmosphere aboard the ISS Trailblazer was electric with excitement and disbelief. The human crew seemed almost giddy as they reviewed the data, marveling at their own achievements. 1,500 light-years in 5.2 seconds. Exulted the navigator, a wiry man with a shock of spiky hair. "That's a new record for the longest jump ever by a factor of 10. We left the old mark in the dust." His colleagues gathered around, clapping each other on the backs and exchanging high fives. To Zorax, the humans' jubilation seemed almost unhinged. Did they not understand the gravity of what they had accomplished? The repercussions this could have on the galactic balance of power? Captain Sorensen called for quiet, her voice cutting through the celebratory din. "All right, people, outstanding work. You've just made history, but we're not done yet. Let's see if we can push the envelope even further on the next jump. I want a full systems check and drive recalibration. We go again in 2 hours." As the crew buckled down to their tasks with renewed fervor, Zorax approached the captain. "Forgive me, Captain Sorensen, but is it wise to attempt another jump so soon? Your ship has already far exceeded all expectations. Surely it would be prudent to return to Earth, to analyze the data and determine the implications of your success." Captain Sorensen regarded Zorax with a determined glint in her eyes. "I understand your concern, Doctor, but out here on the frontier, we have a saying: strike while the iron is hot. We've achieved something incredible today, and I believe we can go even further. It's not in human nature to rest on our laurels. We'll continue to push the boundaries until we hit the limit." Zorax clicked his mandibles together nervously. He had heard of the human penchant for exploration, for pushing beyond the safe and known. But to witness it firsthand was both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. These people seemed to have no concept of caution, of restraint. They charged ahead with a boldness that bordered on recklessness. "But surely there are risks," Zorax persisted. "The stress on the ship's hull, the potential for misjump or drive failure. and the consequences if this technology were to fall into the wrong hands. Captain Sorensen nodded slowly. You're not wrong, Dr. Clear. The risks are substantial, but the potential rewards are equally great. Imagine the possibilities for exploration, for scientific discovery, for connecting the far-flung corners of the galaxy. This jump drive could change everything, and I believe it is humanity's destiny to be at the forefront of that change. The captain's words hung heavy in the air between them. Zorax saw the fierce conviction in her eyes, the unwavering belief in her species' right to push the boundaries of the possible. It was a look he had seen before, in the eyes of conquerors and kings. It sent a shiver down his carapace. We'll take every precaution, Captain Sorensen assured him. My engineers are the best in the business. They'll triple-check every calculation, every system. And if at any point I feel the risk is too great, we'll abort the test and return to base. You have my word. Zorax inclined his head, accepting the captain's promise. But as he watched the Trailblazers' crew throw themselves into their work with passionate intensity, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were all hurtling towards something immense and terrifying. The humans had unlocked a power beyond reckoning, and he feared they had no idea of the forces they were unleashing upon the galaxy. Concerns and confidence. As the scheduled time for the third jump test approached, Zorax found himself pacing the corridors of the ISS Trailblazer, his mind awhirl with conflicting thoughts and emotions. The sheer audacity of the humans both impressed and terrified him. They seemed utterly convinced of their own invincibility, of their manifest destiny to reshape the cosmos to their will. Zorax paused before the door to the captain's ready room, steeling himself for a difficult conversation. He had to make Sorensen see the potential dangers of pushing too far, too fast. With a deep breath, he triggered the door chime. "Enter," came the captain's voice from within. Zorax stepped into the ready room to find Captain Sorensen poring over a holographic display of the jump drive schematics. She looked up as he entered, her eyes bright with anticipation. "Dr. Clear, what can I do for you?" Zorax cleared his throat, his translator implant struggling to convey the nuances of his concern. "Captain, I must once again express my reservations about proceeding with this third jump test. Your ship has already achieved the impossible twice over. To push further seems unwise." Captain Sorensen leaned back in her chair, regarding Zorax with a mix of respect and determination. "I hear your concerns, Doctor, and I don't dismiss them. But I have the utmost faith in my crew and in the work we've done to prepare for this moment. We're not flying blind here." She gestured to the holographic schematics floating above her desk. "We've run thousands of simulations, checked and rechecked every calculation. The drive is performing flawlessly, and all safety margins are well within parameters. I wouldn't risk the lives of my crew on a whim." Zorax studied the human's face, trying to read the complex play of emotions there. He saw confidence, certainly, but also something more. A hunger, a fierce drive to exceed all limits and expectations. It was a look he had come to recognize as quintessentially human. "I don't doubt your crew's capabilities or dedication, Captain," Zorax said carefully, "but the implications of your success here, they are beyond anything the galaxy has ever seen. The council races will be shocked, perhaps even frightened. They may see humanity's rapid advancement as a threat to the established order." Captain Sorensen nodded slowly, her eyes unfocusing as if seeing something far beyond the confines of the ready room. "I understand that, Doctor. Believe me, I do. But we can't let fear of the unknown hold us back. Humanity has always been driven to explore, to discover, to push the boundaries of what's possible. It's in our DNA." She refocused on Zorax, her gaze intense. "We're not out to conquer or dominate, but we won't be constrained by the limitations of the past either. The jump drive is just the beginning. Imagine what we can learn, what we can achieve, when the stars are truly within our reach." Zorax felt a shiver run through him at the captain's words. The conviction in her voice, the sheer scope of the vision she embodied, It was both inspiring and terrifying. He knew in that moment that nothing he could say would dissuade her or her crew from their chosen path. "I can only hope that the Council sees it as you do, Captain," Zorax said softly, "that they can embrace the potential of your people's achievements rather than fear them." Captain Sorensen stood, extending her hand to Zorax in the human gesture of accord. "That's my hope as well, Dr. Tler, and I'm glad you're here to witness this moment in our history. Together, perhaps we can build a bridge of understanding between our peoples." As Zorax took the captain's hand, he couldn't help but feel that he was shaking hands with destiny itself. The course of the future would be set in the next few hours, for good or ill. All he could do was watch and hope and pray to whatever gods might be listening that the humans truly understood the powers they were unleashing. The final leap. The tension on the bridge of the ISS Trailblazer was palpable as the crew made their final preparations for the third jump test. Engineers and technicians darted from station to station, making last-minute calibrations and system checks. Zorax sat at his observer's post, his heart beating a rapid tattoo against his exoskeleton. Captain Sorensen stood at the center of the maelstrom, a calm eye amidst the controlled chaos. She radiated an aura of absolute focus and determination, her every move and word precisely calculated. "Navigation. Plot us a course for the Andromeda Galaxy," she ordered. "Let's see just how far this bird can really fly." Zorax started at the captain's words. Andromeda. But that was millions of light years away, far beyond the reach of even the most advanced Council jump drives. Surely Sorensen couldn't be serious. But one look at the captain's face told Zorax that she was deadly serious. There was a fire in her eyes, a fierce joy at the prospect of achieving the impossible yet again. Around her, the crew responded with a flurry of activity, dialing in coordinates and powering up the jump drive. "Course plotted and locked in, Captain," reported the navigator. "Jump drive capacitors charging, ready to engage on your mark." "Final system checks all green," added the engineer. "The ship is primed and ready." Captain Sorensen took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the forward view screen. "This is it, people. The moment of truth. Engage the jump drive. Now." Zorax braced himself as a surge of power thrummed through the ship, building to a crescendo of blinding light and bone-shaking vibration. There was a momentary sensation of dislocation, of being stretched and twisted through dimensions beyond human comprehension. And then, silence. Zorax blinked away the afterimages seared into his vision and stared in awe at the view screen. Gone were the familiar constellations of the Milky Way, replaced by the swirling alien starscape of a whole new galaxy. They had done it. They had crossed the intergalactic void as easily as stepping from one room to another. For a long moment, no one spoke. The shock of their achievement hung heavy in the air, a palpable thing. Then, slowly, a murmur of excitement began to build among the crew. Whispers became shouts of triumph, and soon the bridge was a cacophony of celebration. "We did it," exulted the navigator, pumping his fist in the air. "Andromeda, can you believe it? Never doubted us for a second," grinned the engineer, slapping her console with. The engineer slapped her console with glee. "And we still have over 80% charge in the jump capacitors. We could be home in time for dinner." As the jubilant crew celebrated around her, Captain Sorensen turned to Zorax with a smile of quiet satisfaction. "Well, Dr. Tler, what do you think of our little ship now?" Zorax shook his head in wonder, struggling to find the words. "Captain, I have no frame of reference for what you've achieved here today. A single jump of millions of light years. It's beyond anything the Council has ever dreamed of. The implications are staggering." Captain Sorensen nodded, her eyes alight with the glow of new possibilities. "This is just the beginning, Doctor. With this jump drive, there's nowhere we can't go, nothing we can't discover. The entire universe is open to us now." She paused, seeming to consider her next words carefully. But it's not just about exploration or scientific curiosity. This technology has the potential to change everything, to bring the far corners of the galaxy together, to redefine the very nature of civilization. Zorax felt a chill run through him at the captain's words. The idea of the humans spreading out across the stars, armed with a technological advantage beyond reckoning. It was both exhilarating and deeply unsettling. The Council will have to be informed, he said slowly. The balance of power, the very structure of galactic society. It will all have to be re-evaluated in light of this development. Captain Sorensen laid a hand on Zorax's shoulder, her grip firm and reassuring. I understand your concerns, Doctor. And I agree, the Council needs to be part of this conversation. But I truly believe that this is a turning point for all of us, humans and Council races alike. A chance to build a new future together. She smiled, a spark of mischief in her eyes. Besides, I have a few ideas for improving the jump drive's efficiency even further. Imagine if we could cut the transit time in half or increase the range even more. The possibilities are endless. Zorax could only shake his head in amazement at the captain's boldness, her utter lack of fear in the face of the unknown. It was the defining trait of her species, he was coming to realize, a reckless courage that could either lead them to glory or destruction. As the ISS Trailblazer prepared to make the jump back to Earth, Zorax found himself filled with a strange mix of anticipation and dread. The universe would never be the same after today, and he had a feeling that the intrepid crew of this unassuming ship was just getting started on their journey to reshape the cosmos. Revelations and repercussions. The return of the ISS Trailblazer to Earth orbit was met with a media firestorm unlike anything the planet had ever seen. As news of the ship's incredible achievements spread, the public's imagination was set ablaze with dreams of a new golden age of exploration and discovery. But behind closed doors, in the halls of power both on Earth and across the Council worlds, a very different conversation was taking place. Zorax found himself at the center of a maelstrom of conflicting agendas and rising fears as he relayed his observations to the Council's ruling body. The implications are clear, said Councillor Zarn, his holographic image flickering with barely suppressed agitation. The humans have leapfrogged generations of jump drive technology in a single bound. They could be at our very doorsteps in a matter of days, should they so choose. We must act to contain this threat, added Councillor Voss, her crystalline features hardening with resolve. The humans cannot be allowed to upset the balance of power so drastically. We must demand that they share this technology with us, or face the consequences. Zorax spoke up, his voice steady despite the tension crackling through the virtual meeting space. With respect, councillors, I believe we are approaching this from the wrong angle. The humans have no desire for conquest or domination. They seek only to explore, to learn, to push the boundaries of the possible. The councillors erupted into a cacophony of argument and recrimination, each determined to have their say. But through it all, Zorax held fast to the center of his being, to the truth he had witnessed firsthand. The humans are not our enemies, he said, his words cutting through the tumult like a beam of light through shadow. They are our potential allies, our partners in a new era of galactic cooperation. We must reach out to them, not with fear and mistrust, but with open hearts and minds. It was a long and heated debate, but in the end, Zorax's words carried the day. The Council agreed to convene a summit with Earth's leaders to begin the long and complicated process of integrating humanity's breakthrough into the fabric of galactic society. As Zorax boarded the transport that would take him back to the Trailblazer and the unlikely friends he had made there, he couldn't help but feel a sense of profound hope. The road ahead would be difficult, fraught with challenges and misunderstandings on all sides. But for the first time in generations, the galaxy was on the cusp of true change. And at the heart of it all was a small ship and its unfathomably courageous crew, who had dared to dream the impossible, and in so doing, had set the universe on a new course. Zorax knew that he would forever be proud to have stood witness to their triumph, and to have played a small part in the dawning of a new age. As the transport lifted off, and the blue-green curve of Earth fell away beneath him, Zorax allowed himself a small smile. The future was unwritten, but one thing was certain. With the humans as partners and allies, it would never be boring. And that, perhaps, was the greatest gift of all.